The Sharks get shut out in Buffalo. Kaapo Kahkonen has a bounce back game, and Will Smith makes his return back to Boston College. So, all that and more on today's episode.
You're Locked On Sharks, your daily podcast on the San Jose Sharks. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, welcome to Locked On Sharks, the premier hockey podcast of your favorite tanking team in the Bay Area. My name is JD Young, contributor at San Jose Hockey Now, and I want to thank you for making Locked On Sharks your first listen, proudly part of the Locked On Network. We cover your team every day, even when they get shut out for the seventh time, and we've barely passed the halfway point of the season. So if you want to be an everydayer, all you have to do is just follow wherever you get podcasts, or you can watch on YouTube as well. And again, the Sharks, in the most scheduled of scheduled losses, lose 3-0 to the Buffalo Sabres. The offense showed signs, but they just could not create anything out of it. We'll also talk about Kaapo Kahkonen's kind of bounce back game, especially after getting pulled against the Toronto Maple Leafs. And then Will Smith makes his return to Boston College. So we'll have a prospect brief breakdown of his Friday game against Providence, where they won 7-1, and he had 2 goals in that game. So we'll kind of go through that game. So before we do all that, do want to let you guys know that today's episode is brought to you guys by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code Locked On for $20 off your first purchase. So, another disappointing performance by the offense. Showed signs of life though, and when we dig into the numbers, you'll see this game was much closer than what we saw against the Sens on Saturday, where these were two very evenly matched teams. But this was very, very much felt like a scheduled loss going to happen, especially with taking into account, and I'm trying not to make excuses, these are professional athletes. It's not like it was a huge travel, but stuck in Ottawa an extra day, right? Normally after a game, you would travel like this. You would travel to Buffalo. The Sharks should have been in Buffalo on Sunday, and then kind of had your normal practice day and then get ready for the game, right? Sharks stuck in Ottawa because of the weather situation in Buffalo that forced the NFL to move a game back, forced this game to get moved up, et cetera, et cetera. Not making excuses, but this very much felt like a scheduled loss. And I will say the Sharks looked better than I expected in this game. I expected this game to be what we've kind of seen, where the Sharks just don't have anything offensively and kind of aren't creating much. And while the Sharks didn't score a goal, they did show a lot of more offense, and they just weren't able to kind of finish the job as they have had trouble doing all season long. But and then now they're getting on a plane flying to Chicago for the Tank Bowl against Chicago tomorrow. So yeah, it's going to be a very tough end to the road trip here. So as for the Sharks themselves, though, you saw offense, and especially we had the Hertl, Eklund, Zadina line put back together, and I thought Eklund had himself a really nice game, especially offensively. Made some mistakes, in the defensive zone, as he's prone to do, being a 21-year-old player. But I think he kind of bounced back from those mistakes. But you saw a lot of offensive opportunities, and he made some nice passes. He had a really, really nice beginning of the third period. He had a really, really nice pass to Barabanov. Actually, it was a kind of a whole shift where they had the Hertl, Barabanov, Eklund line put together. And that line played really, really well in that one shift. Again, extremely small sample size, but that line in 2 shifts, that line had 7 shot attempts, 4 gave up 1. Next day had 5 shot attempts, actual shots on goal, gave up 1, and they had 0.63 expected goals for, which is the best out of. So I'm curious to see if we get that line put together. I would like to see that line put together. I think that line, there's something there. You had Barabanov set up Eklund. Eklund just kind of corral a puck and right in front of UPL. And then literally like 30 seconds later on the same shift, Eklund has a really nice pass to Barabanov that he kind of tucks and just isn't able to get it in, kind of get it on net. But like creating those offensive chances, and for a team right now that continues to struggle to create goals, you thought the offense was there. They just weren't rewarded for their success today. And again, that has been kind of the story of the Sharks, right? Is whenever they do create, like it's such a struggle to create offense for them, they're just not rewarded for their, or you have games like Saturday where you get severely outplayed, but you just play an inferior goalie and you're kind of, it's not sustainable offense. I thought today's offense was sustainable, especially by the top two lines. I thought the Granlund and the Hertl lines were both really great today. The bottom six was a little kind of a mixed results between them. But yeah, I think the Sharks just weren't really rewarded for their efforts. Someone who should have been rewarded for their efforts today was Kaapo Kahkonen, who had himself a really nice bounce back game, especially after getting pulled against the Leafs last week. And then we saw Mackenzie Blackwood for 2 straight games. And I really liked Kaapo Kahkonen's game today. Did give up 2 goals, but I thought he played really well. 32 of 34, so 32 saves and 34 shots in all situations. 2 goals against, expected goals against was 2.96, so basically saved an extra goal. Save percentage of 941, was perfect on high danger shots, 6 for 6, 9 of 10 from medium danger, and then 15 of 16 for low danger. I think that first one, which I think snuck up on him, could be the only one that you're like, man, I kind of wish he had that one back, but I think that one he got kind of handcuffed there. I think with what happened was Vlasic kind of got stuck in no man's land and wasn't sure if he should continue to kind of push forward and kind of attack the forward. Kind of got stuck in no man's land there, and I think the puck I don't think Kaapo Kahkonen saw the puck cleanly coming at him. That's the one where you kind of feel like you maybe wants that one back, but still, I think it was a really strong bounce back game from him today. And we've seen basically since, American Thanksgiving, we've seen Kahkonen play some of his best hockey in teal, and he's good to see the kind of brushes away the getting pulled against the Leafs in a game that, frankly, the Sharks just did not show up for in that game. And it's good to kind of move on from that and to continue to play well. So, yeah, I mean, I think though, if the offense plays like this, I think they're going to start to see some goals come in. Eklund, I think, is overdue. He hasn't scored a goal in 15 or 16 games now. I think he's playing well enough to have scored and has had some. You could see the past couple of games. I think he's starting to kind of shoot a little bit more, trying to get back to that shoot first mentality that made him successful, especially at the beginning of the season. I think he's starting to try to get back to that. But overall, again, it's just, how it is. If the top 6 isn't performing for the Sharks, they're probably not going to have much of a chance. And I think the top 6 probably should have been rewarded for at least a goal for the way they played today. But again, just weren't able to kind of muster up anything. So, yeah, the offense continues to go cold. Such a streaky offense. So it's either they're going to score like 1 goal or they're going to score like 4 goals. Just would like to see some consistency out of them going forward. So we'll continue digging into the numbers and what kind of how evenly matched up these two teams were, and why the Sharks again probably deserve to score a goal or a couple goals in this game. So we'll dig into those numbers next, and then we'll talk about Will Smith's first game back with Boston College. So we'll do all that here in just 1 second. If you're looking to grab tickets to either maybe you want to go catch a Niners playoff game, you want to go see a Warriors game, you want to go catch a Sharks game, or whatever event you want to go, you need to check out Game Time. They have killer last minute deals, all in prices, views from your seat, and their best price guarantee. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. I love that you can actually see what your seats are going to look like. Nothing worse than buying tickets, you get there and then you realize you have terrible seats. Actually, the only thing worse than that is when you go to check out and they slam a bunch of fees on you. Game Time doesn't do that. They have all-in pricing, so you know exactly what you're going to pay when you go to check out. That way you know you're getting a great deal. You can buy tickets in seconds with 2 taps, and they're obsessed with finding ways to save money on tickets. So they have exclusive flash deals. You can also buy tickets up to an hour after the event starts. So again, if you're the procrastinator like me and you still want to go, you can find great seats there. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON, LOCKEDON, for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, let's dig into the numbers for this game. A little bit different lines. Hoffman was healthy scratch today, and Scott Sabrin jumped into his spot. Again, saw some little tweaks. So we had the Zetterlund, Granlund, Duclair line reunited. They had themselves a nice game. Eklund, Hertl, Zadina, Barabanov, Cunnin, Bailey, and then LeBanc, Carpenter, Sabrin. But we did see some guys move around, especially in the third period, as the Sharks were looking to try to get the offense going here. So 5v5, again, this game was really, really even. And it kind of felt like, especially in the first period, both teams were still kind of waking up and trying to, get the coffee going in them. But as the game went on, I think the Sabres started to kind of put their foot down, and especially in the third period, kind of took control of the game. So shot attempts 56-52 in favor of the Sabres. So that's a 51.85 to 48.15 Corsi for in favor of the Sabres. Actual shots 31-25, 5v5 in favor of the Sabres. Scoring chances for 25-20 in favor of the Sabres, and 10-10 high danger chances. 2.61 to 2.32 expected goals for in favor of the Sabres. So the Sharks should have scored 2 goals if you believe in expected goals. This kind of felt like, again, Luke. UPL really, kind of made some really nice saves when he had to, but the Sharks just continuing to try to find those high quality chances. And looking at the shot map, it was very much pretty even until, and actually the Sharks kind of had a good chunk, especially the start of the third period. But then kind of after the Sharks power play, the Sabres, they earned a power play, and then from then on just really kind of controlled the end of the game there, and the Sharks just weren't able to, and that kind of finished off with that empty net goal for them. So looking at the forward line, so the Zetterlund, Granlund, Duclair line played 11-34 time on ice, 15-4 shot attempts, 6-1 actual shots, no goals, didn't give up a goal. 0.62 to 0.34 expected goals, 6-3 scoring chances, 4-2 high danger chances, with 4-2-4 zone starts. So that line played really, really well. And Duclair had a couple opportunities, but if you think back to kind of the end of that second period, Granlund kind of sets up Duclair, kind of a backdoor play, and Duclair just not able to tuck it home. And, so I think, again, I think a lot of these lines are overdue for something positive here, scoring wise soon. So that line played really well. The Eklund, Hertl, Zadina line played 8-1, 8 shot attempts to 13 in favor of the Sabres, 5-4 actual shots, 0.22 to 0.21 expected goals in favor of that Hertl line, 2-6 scoring chances, 1-1 high danger chances, with 1-5-4 zone starts. This line was playing better, but then kind of started getting pushed around a little bit at the middle and end, and I think that's where we saw the Barabanov line, kind of Barabanov reunited with this line here. I think Barabanov should should get a chance to play with the Eklund Hertl. I know it's been a couple small sample sizes, but I think we've seen, as I kind of talked about earlier, we've seen that line play really well and really kind of work off each other. And with Logan Couture not going to be back in Chicago, I'd like to at least see this line together for a full game against Chicago. Hopefully that's what I would do. Not that my opinion matters much, but we've seen them kind of been able to generate offense, and the team struggles to generate offense. So, and just get rewarded for their offense. Barabanov, kind of Bailey played 7-22, 10-4 shot attempts, 3-3 actual shots on goal, 0.07 to 0.09 expected goals. So they were creating shot attempts, not the most dangerous of them. 1-2 scoring chances, and then 5-1-5 for the zone starts there. And then Labanc, Carpenter, Sabrin played 6-6, 4-11 shot attempts, 1-6 actual shots. I thought Labanc played well. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe he gets a look on the third line here soon. I think he's kind of strung together a couple good games here. I'll talk about the lines here, what I would kind of do for the Chicago game here in a second. But I would be interested to see what those, and like I talked about, Eklund, Hertl, Barabanov played really well in about 3 minutes. They had 7-1 shot attempts. Actual shots was 5-1, 0.63 to 0.06 expected goals for, 5 scoring chances in less than 3 minutes. So I would be really intrigued. Like I said, I really want to see that line together. And then Zadina Cunningham Bailey line played a minute 31, 0-4 shot attempts, 0-3 actual shots on goal. So yeah, what I would do, again, if David Quinn asked me, I would put out of the Eklund, Hertl, Barabanov line put together, I would do Zetterlund, Granlund, Duclair, Cunningham, Bailey, Labanc, and then if you want to do Scott Sabrin or Mike Hoffman, either or, Carpenter, and then Philip Zadina on that line. That would be my guess for what I would do if you're kind of going based off this game, going into their game against Chicago on Tuesday night. So as for the defenders in this game, so we had Addison was scratched for this game. Vlasic got his second game here and played pretty wellish. So Ferraro led the way, at least for Corsi, for 29-19, 60.42% Corsi, and then Vlasic, who was his partner, 21-14, 60% Corsi as well. Both those were on ice for 1 goal. Burrows, Burrows and Hochek played together, and then we had Thran Ruda. Burrows and 14-43 at 5v5, 18-16 shot attempts, 52.94% Corsi for, and then Hochek 15.58, 13-19% Corsi for, 40.63. Thran played 20 minutes, 14-29, Corsi 4, 32.56, and then Ruda 14.58, 6-7, Corsi 4, 26.09. So that pair of Thran, Ruda struggled, at least when it came to generating shot attempts. So we'll see with Addison, kind of who is just I think it's gonna be between Hochek, Vlasic, and Addison, just kind of a rotating cast of kind of who gets to play and who doesn't between them. So we'll see kind of what happens there. I wouldn't be surprised though if Vlasic plays, especially with his cousin Alex Vlasic, or his nephew or whatever, his relation. I can't remember if it's his nephew or cousin or something like that. But they are related. I wouldn't be surprised if Vlasic gets to play again in Chicago. Nice little family moment there between the two Vlasics. So we'll talk about a future Shark here in Will Smith. Talk about his first game back on Friday night when the Boston College beat the number 9 ranked Providence 7-1. So we'll talk about that game here, my notes from that game, as we finish up today's episode. I know it's been a brutal season for you Sharks fans, but regardless of where the Sharks are in the standings, I want to remind you that you can win big by playing daily fantasy hockey on Sleeper. The official daily fantasy app of the Locked On NHL Network. Sleeper is our number one choice for our daily fantasy sports, and especially daily fantasy hockey, because with Sleeper, you can win 100 times your cash in daily fantasy hockey contests. All you have to do is pick some of your favorite players, whether they're NHL superstars like McDavid, Crosby, McKinnon, or some of your favorite Sharks players like Mikael Granlund, Tomas Hertl, or Slippery Pete. Record more or less than their sleeper projections for things like goals, assists, saves, plus, minus, and more in a given game. To win 100 times bet on Sleeper, you need to correctly predict the outcome of 8 player stats. You're going to be Sharks fans. You can win 100 times your money playing daily fantasy hockey with Sleeper. So start paying attention and nail your picks so you can start winning big. Use promo code LOCKEDONNHL and you'll get a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. That's code LOCKEDONNHL. See Sleeper's terms of use for details and locational availability. All right, so let's talk about things that at least make us happy, and that's Will Smith. So he got the notebook back. So Will Smith had himself a really nice game against Providence in his first game back. So this is Friday's game. I kind of did the deep dive on this game. Didn't get a chance to watch Saturday's game where I know they lost 4-3. Will Smith had a goal and an assist in that game. So solid weekend from Smith on his first kind of weekend back from World Juniors with 3 goals and an assist. So we'll start with the Will Smith. And the first period, I think, was kind of very much getting back into the swing of things, right? You play, it's kind of your first game back and, back in college hockey. You haven't played a game in, about 2 weeks now, right, for him. And you can kind of tell a little bit of a getting back, feeling it period. I thought he did get to play on the kind of interesting, got to play on the power play. He's been kind of shuffling between the top and the bottom power play. They went back to the Cutter Gauthier with the 3 freshmen, and he made some really nice plays on the power play. And I think that was good for him to kind of get back into the swing of things, was getting out back on that first power play and doing what Will Smith does, right? And that's create chances. And I think he also, kind of playing that defensive spot up there, running the power play on that, and I think really kind of helped get him back into the swing of things, because a little bit choppy to start. He just a little bit choppy, I think is the best way to kind of put the first period. But after that, he really, I think, found his way. You saw some nice plays, I think, in his defensive zone, where his ability to kind of read the puck and read the situation, I think that's what his IQ rate is going to what makes him such a valuable player, is his ability to kind of read and see what's going to happen next. And he had a really nice, good interception. Started going the other way with it, but was a little careless the puck that led to a turnover. He created a turnover, then caused a turnover really, really quickly, and that led to a chance going back the other way. But yeah, the first period, I think, was very much a feeling out period for him. The second period, you saw way more trying to be creative, and I almost a little bit too much at times. But again, I'd rather a guy trying to create stuff than it's easier to tone that down than to try to kind of pull it out of guys right now. That's gonna be Will Smith's thing, is how do you balance the creativity side with, okay, I can't get away with that, especially when you move on to the NHL. Had some defensive zone starts, quick face-off wins that led to quick transitions with shots on goal. You saw much more offensive opportunities in him and his line creating offensive opportunities. And this line did score a goal in the second period, as I'm going through my notes again. He's, again, a lot more, I think, kind of just being back in the action with that one. With this, it was a weird game because Providence is kind of pushing the pace, especially for this beginning of the second period, but then the wheels fell off on them. And I think Boston College scored 4 goals in 3 minutes here. The first goal that Smith scored was not the highlightiest of highlight reels goals for him, but it was definitely a hardworking. He beats kind of makes the defender make a bad play because he's kind of putting pressure on him, and he just tucks it in on the goalie, and that's 1000% a goal that the goalie would definitely want back. Because Smith's below the blue line, like behind the goal line, excuse me. He's behind the goal line, behind the kind of to the side of the net, and just kind of puts it on net, right? And you never know what happens when you put it on net, but he's able to score and gets it in on net. And, they don't ask how, they just ask how many. And that's another goal for Smith. And then right after that, Ryan Leonard scored a goal where Will Smith was on the ice, and that was a win the zone or the face-off that led to kind of the offensive zone start. And again, another bad goal that the goalie gave up, and the goalie actually got pulled soon after this. But if you plus or minus, that's he was on the ice for that goal as well. So again, I think the second period you saw a little bit more of like I said, you saw more of the offensive zone creativity. You saw some good chances from the defensive zone start creating rushes, and then draws a penalty because his rush opportunity kind of draws a penalty. It puts them on again where he starts on the power play, was running the power play, but again, just kind of misses on a one-time, because we could have been talking about a Smith hat trick today. A lot of great passes on the power play, and you can see just how comfortable he is running the power play, which is fine, right? What's what you want him to do, especially being good on the power play is going to be one of his hallmarks. So, you way more offensive shift. And the third period, again, when they were up by a lot, so it was a little bit more just kind of trying to milk out the game, or kind of milk out the clock for them. Saw a lot of more patience from him, and there was a great play with him and Perreault where Will Smith kind of gets line, and it's not quite a rush, but it starting to look like it, starting to develop it. And instead of just like head down going with it, he kind of holds up for a second, draws the defender towards him, and then he just kind of this soft little pass right in front of Gabe Perreault that sets up Perreault. So instead of being like a 2-on-1, it just becomes a Perreault 1 on the goalie, and Perreault just isn't able to kind of to put it home. But that's that creativity that we talk about, right? Of not just be like, get the puck, go. You see that with him overall, and that's going to be his hallmark, is just kind of making those plays happen and making the players around him better. Again, Ryan Leonard and Gabe Perreault are great players, and they're well on their way to being great players, but Will Smith just kind of brings that different energy, and it's easy to compare. Well, like Ryan Leonard, has that dog in him, and he's just going to be kind of like going crazy and like, kind of mixing it up with it. And you don't see Will Smith doing that, but that's not his game, right? It's good to have players who kind of do a little bit of everything. And then Smith did score a goal at the end of the game, I think with like 5 minutes left, where Ryan Leonard kind of created a goal, and then Will Smith, that's where he like realizes what's happening and rushes to the net, and then it's just an easy tap in for him, as Ryan Leonard makes a really nice kind of almost kind of the same thing that Smith did for Perreault, Leonard kind of did for Smith, and Ryan Leonard or Will Smith is able to kind of capitalize it. Overall, though, I think you're seeing Smith again kind of playing as that third forward, where he's kind of the floating forward, chips in where he needs to along the boards. Still not the most physical. Did see a little bit more board engagement, but that's something he's going to have to continue to work on. Being patient, reading the play, and just kind of knowing where to be and where to go. And I think that's going to be his IQ, his hockey IQ, just kind of being in the right place at the right time and knowing how to put his guys around him in places to succeed. That's what he's going to be really good at. And that's what's going to be his key to success. So, first game back, would like to see a couple of times where kind of feel like I like to see him hustle back a little bit more towards plays. But again, you're up at points. I think they're up 6-1 at points, and it's, I think, a natural, okay, we're this game's over, we got to play these guys again tomorrow. I can totally understand that, but that's just a little bit of a thing that and with NHL coaching, you'll see that, right? And you've seen that with even like William Eklund today, where doesn't make a play, but gets the coaching and then put the same position later on in the game, is able to kind of correct that. And I think you'll see that stuff from Will Smith. So good to see Smith kind of come back and start the game again. Providence was ranked number 9 in this, and I know Providence went back and beat them. I'll watch that game here in probably later today. But yeah, good to see. A nice start for Will Smith as he's coming back from World Juniors. So that's going to be it for me today. We'll be back tomorrow to break down the Sharks Blackhawks game and the Tank Bowl. We have our good friend Tony Ferrari joining us later on this week, where we're going to kickstart our draft coverage. So the intro to the 2024 draft. So we'll have a big conversation about the 2024 draft and all that good stuff. So make sure you guys are following along wherever you get podcasts. And of course, you can watch on YouTube as well. You can follow the show on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Locked On Sharks. You can follow me on Twitter at MyFryhole. Till tomorrow. Bye, friends.